Hey, you know what? This week Daniel didn't have a spare thing of his own,
Mm.
which is which is unusual for him. But then again, I didn't want to make him work after hours.
Yeah.
There, I did it. I found a transition. I didn't think I
Yes.
would manage it, but I did.
Woo. Nice. Yes, yeah, we watched yes, our final review of the night, After Hours, a one of Martin Scorsese's, I think, lesser known titles. Um because I had never heard of it until DB saw it on Netflix. And I'm like,
It's
hmm,
it's a bad sign when you have a big time director like Martin Scorsese, and they have a movie from around like if yeah like this is like in the middle of the peak of his career really, or the best part of his career, that you've never heard of before.
yeah, yeah,
Like before I ever saw Goodfellas, I'd heard of Goodfellas. Before I ever saw Wolf of Wall Street, I saw Wolf of Wall Street.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, but this movie, nope. Uh,
Wait, wait,
yes, yeah,
wait, was Wolf of Wall Street Scorsese?
yeah, yes, yeah, it was
Oh,
Scorsese, yeah,
okay, good. I
yeah.
doubted myself for a moment there.
And then, well, and then before this one, it was Taxi Driver.
Right, exactly. Like
Yeah,
I never heard, or excuse me, I had heard of Taxi Driver for years, but I'd never seen it. So
yeah,
it's like, why had I never heard of this movie before?
yeah. And then we watched it, and we found out.
This thing has a 7.6 on IMDb.
No, I put it at like 5 or 6.
Yeah, I might even go as low as a 4 if I'm in a bad mood about it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, so would I go so far as to call this no moral theater? Because
Yeah.
like the movie kind of ends where it begins. Like I guess the best I could say for it is like it's a story about how crazy New York can get after hours, or it's a morality tale about don't pick up strange women, or don't leave your house after 11 o'clock in New York to get some strange.
Yeah. To get some loving.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mentioned this when I was watching it and then before the show. But this movie, the plot of this movie reminds me of the worst episode of Ted Lasso. For any of you out there, if you watched Ted Lasso, you probably know the episode I'm talking about. I want to say it was not the last episode of season 2, but the second to last episode. With Where it was featuring the assistant coach, Coach Beard, out on a night out of the town in London. Um, yeah, that was a horrible episode, and part of me wonders if maybe like the people on that show watched this movie and said, "Hey, let's do that."
We can do it better.
No.
All right.
But
So
yeah.
yeah, so overall premise, you you have you have Paul Hackett, who is a word processor by day, and this they kind of bring this up, and it's like it seems like it should be a plot point, but it really isn't. It's
uh,
almost like it's a joke in and of itself that he is a word processor, which doesn't really make a whole lot of sense.
yeah. Yeah.
It's like it's just like meant to emphasize how mundane he is.
I guess so, yeah. Yeah, he's played by Griffin Dunn, who before this he was in An American Werewolf in London. He played the buddy of the guy who's turning into a werewolf. He actually dies. He actually gets killed by the werewolf, and but his disembodied self keeps appearing to his friend, and his
Mm.
body keeps getting more and more like decayed and decrepit. Alex Kurtzman ripped it off in the Mummy, the Tom Cruise Mummy, where his buddy kept coming back and talking to him. That's where they got it from. That's where Kurtzman got it from.
Man,
Uh,
the more you learn about Kurtzman, you wonder, are people going to finally stop giving him money to try to make movies?
I think it's starting to. I think that time's finally coming. But but yeah, so he plays Paul. He's a kind of a mundane word processor, as DB pointed out. And then one night he's sitting in a he's like sitting in a restaurant reading a book, the Tropic of Cancer, which I only know about that book from an episode of Seinfeld.
Yeah, I think it was like it's one of those like book covers I've seen around before, but I couldn't tell you why or how.
Yeah, yeah. And he's reading the book, and then a beautiful young lady notices him and starts talking to him about the book and everything. And her name is Marcy, played by Rosanna Arquette, who, I mean, she's been around for like decades. Her whole family are all actors and actresses. So he's obviously, really likes her a lot, and she seems to like him. And she gives him her number because she's staying with a friend of her, with a friend who's an artist who makes like sculptures out of
Paper mache or
paper,
plaster.
plaster, paper mache, which yeah.
Yeah, and so the first hint I kind of had that this movie was strange in a way, like where it thought it was delightful and it wasn't really, was like, oh man, my roommate is so wacky. She makes these paperweights that are cream cheese and bagel out of plaster. And instead of the guy just admitting that he wants to come over and have some alone time with her, he pretends he really wants to buy one of these things. Like that's his excuse to come on over.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, he ends up going to the apartment, and it's down in Soho, which if you know anything about New York, that's kind of downtown, I believe. Uh,
Yep.
and it's but Soho is where, like, that's where all the artists were, where they all live in New York, is down in Soho. Um, and so yeah, so then he goes down, and he goes down there. He meets the friend who Kiki, who was played by Linda Fiorentino, and the only other movie I've ever seen her in was Men in Black. She's the coroner in that movie.
Did not
Yeah.
recognize her.
Well, she looks very different in this movie than she did in Men in Black.
Right. This one, she basically just looks like if you asked a right-wing creator to create okay, make an artist who's clearly a lesbian but also not soft.
Yeah. Yeah, and yeah, and so Paul goes down there and he meets up with Marcy, and immediately he's kind of getting some really weird vibes from her. It's she's clearly like hiding things from him, and then he finds out that she has another boyfriend, and on top of that,
And she's still married. Yeah.
She's still married, and so he's just like, okay, I'm getting out of here.
It's kind of like that one. What was it? What was that? The Homewreckers, or what was that movie where the Tom Hanks one?
Oh, Money Pit.
The Money Pit. It's like the situation in the Money Pit where like they're separated, but she's still married to him, and it's just very strange.
Yeah, and they were living in the guy's apartment, and yeah.
Yeah, it's just unusual all around, and I don't know what to think of it.
What's New York? What do you have?
Yeah.
New Yorkers are weird. Yeah.
Anyhow, got distracted there.
But yeah, so Paul, so he ditches Marcy, but then we forgot to mention that on the cab ride over down to Soho, his money flies out of the window. He had a $20 bill that flies out. So now he doesn't have any cash.
It's his last $20.
Yeah.
And
And it's
I,
the
I almost
mid 1980s, so there are no ATMs.
right, no ATMs, no cell phone, no credit card. Nobody knows where he is. He lives alone. He
Yeah.
he didn't tell anybody where he was going.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just a bad situation all around.
Yes. I'm sorry I interrupted you. What were we going to say?
I was going to say, like a lot of times with a movie like this, where I want people to watch it, at this point I start going, okay, at this point here there be past here there'll be spoilers. I don't recommend this movie. I think Daniel and I just need a little bit of talking therapy to make sure we didn't collectively hallucinate this thing.
Yeah. Yeah,
Because the thing of it is, like this is billed as a comedy, and I cannot think of a time in this movie where I actually laughed at anything.
I may have chuckled at a couple of things here and there. Like there's like the one scene where like he sees the woman shooting the guy through the window, and he says, I bet I'm gonna get blamed for that."
True, okay, yeah, at that point it was kind of funny, like that.
Yeah, that line was
Okay.
that was a good, funny little moment there.
And part of that is that this movie very much punishes him for existing. It's the nicest way I can put it.
Yeah, and he doesn't really do anything to deserve it other than, wanting to get laid. Like,
Right. Like, so among other things, um, he he tells the girl, "Hey, sorry, I'm not feeling it." Um, because she weirds him out, and like, part of the reason he's weirded out is because she has like a bunch of burns all over her body, which not entirely cool to be that hung up about that, but I also kind of get it.
yeah.
On top of all the other weirdness, um, it's so
Yeah. So he goes through a series of misfortunes where he'll encounter
yeah,
somebody who is willing to help him, but then for whatever reason they can't help him, or something happens with him, and he's
it backfires on him.
yeah, yeah,
It's like the woman he's going to hook up with, she ends up killing herself. He but before he finds out about that, he goes down to a local bar because it's bucketing rain, and it turns out that they raised the cost of
the
cab or
the subway,
subway
yeah,
fare just that day at midnight. So he didn't have, like, his 97 cents wouldn't get him anywhere.
yeah,
Um, it's like the bartender decides to help him out, but yeah, hey, we'll exchange keys. I can't leave this place. Go to my place and get this thing and come back. But then he gets sidetracked, and the guy's neighbors conclude that he's this person who's been breaking into houses all over the place. And so,
yeah, and so now everybody in the neighborhood is coming after him, and then of course then you also have the waitress in the bar. So here's something that's funny. The bartender is played by John Hurd, and then later on in the movie, Catherine O'Hara shows up. Now, sadly, Catherine O'Hara passed away recently, but John Hurd and Catherine O'Hara are Kevin McAllister's parents from Home Alone.
I forgot about that.
Yeah,
So who knows? Maybe they met and settled down in the in the
yeah, they've been,
suburbs.
yeah, they went suburban Chicago, yeah. Uh, but but yeah, so then but then you also have the waitress at the bar, who's played by
Who
Terry Garr,
who's also a nut.
who's also a nut, yeah. And for those of you who don't know Terry Garr was, she was in Young Frankenstein. She's the blonde assistant, with the great knockers. um and she's really
Okay.
weird because she lives in she thinks it's still in the 1960s.
Yeah. Right. Like all of her, like she has a beehive hairdo, and yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah,
Also, I didn't recognize her in color.
oh yeah, yeah. um and then so like the people, and then he runs into Catherine O'Hara is because
Well, we're
he get,
skipping a step. He ends up
oh yeah,
going back to the apartment, um, and um, he finds the artist tied up after Cheech and Chong. Yes, that Cheech and Chong
yes, Cheech and
seemed
Chong,
to have stolen the a bunch of the statues and stuff from the
yeah,
apartment. And she's tied up and gagged, and she drops. Like he seems desperate to get in, so she drops him the keys, and he gets up there because he assumes, oh, these two people showed up, stole their shit, and tied her up.
Yeah.
No, she's playing bondage games with some guy she had over.
Yeah.
And that's when he
Yeah.
finds that the blonde he was going to hook up with killed herself with pills.
Yeah.
But he has to go, so he just tapes up a bunch of signs that say "dead body" with arrows.
Yeah. Yeah, and then of course it just gets even messier because we find out that like the bartender John heard that's his girlfriend. So it's just like this whole the whole rigmarole, and then of course then Paul he finally finds a taxi because he steals money. He steals a $20 bill off of one of the paper mache sculptures.
Mm-hmm.
And but then the cabbie, it's the same cabbie that took him down there, and he didn't pay him, so he just takes the 20 and drives off. And then that's when Catherine O'Hara shows up, and then of course, Catherine O'Hara is like, okay, well, she has an ice cream truck, so she's like, I'll drive you back home. But then she sees all of these leaflets everywhere with a sketch of him that Terry Garr had drawn up, because it's saying that he's the guy robbing everybody's houses. So now he's got a mob after him.
Right. Catherine O'Hara just goes insane.
Oh, yeah.
Like she was probably to my mind, the funniest character, just for how like quickly she went from zero to nuts.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like everybody was just super into killing him.
Yeah. And yeah, so the basically it's just like, and he, by the end of it all, he's just like, and he's just so desperate and tired and everything. And then finally
it's finally, yeah, he dances with this old woman thinking he's about to die, and she
yeah.
covers him in plaster to make him a statue. And then he gets stolen by Cheech and Chong, who said, hey, we bought this statue for we actually bought something for the first time in our lives. That didn't work out. I'm just gonna go back to stealing crap.
Yeah. But then he falls out of the truck, and then the plaster breaks, and then he just so happens to land right at his office
as the doors are opening.
Yeah, so he just goes to work covered in plaster.
And that's where it's like, well, the movie starts where it begins, at his office.
Yeah.
And it's like, Dad, what was the point of that story?
I like stories.
Because here's the thing is like, okay, so Griffin Dunne as an actor, I felt sorry for the character, but I just don't think he quite had that leading man charisma to make this work.
No, he didn't. I'm trying to think who would be better for this part. I think if we're going by like 1980s,
I almost want to say Bill Murray.
Oh, Murray would have been good. Yeah, maybe Martin Short.
Yeah. Now Chevy Chase would be basically Griffin Dunne, but actually
a bigger asshole.
Yeah, and actually, maybe that's, if you're going to lean into that, maybe Chevy Chase's level of inherent assholishness that he brings to every role would have worked, because then you wouldn't feel so sorry for him as he kept getting tortured. Because when you look at it objectively, like, what did Griffin do, or what did Paul the character do wrong? He met a woman at a bar, or at a diner. She calls him, or he calls up at 11:15, and she decides she wants some company. He gets turned off by the weird stories she is telling somebody that she has just met, including that her husband, the reason they separated, well, I was a virgin on the night we were married, but he was obsessed with the Wizard of Oz, and every time he came, he would shout, "Submit to me, Dorothy," and apparently he didn't even realize he was doing it.
Yeah.
Like, okay, like, who among us who isn't into that specific kink would not be at least a little put off by that story?
I think everybody would. Yeah. Yeah, man.
It's like, can you blame him for wanting to get out of there, even though she was kind of vulnerable? I thought like he told her to kill herself.
Yeah,
Just
yeah,
that
he's
he had no way of knowing that last bit of rejection would be able to put her over the edge.
yeah, yeah. This, oof.
And then like he just was it his fault that his now it was partially his fault for having the window open at that time of night when it was cold. And it's like, what are you doing, man? Why was your window open to let your $20 bill blow out the window?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
But like that's not like that is leaving yourself open for misfortune, not something you can be blamed for.
yeah,
Like it's really just a decent guy, decent like blue collar, I know, see white collar guy out there late at night getting caught up in the insanity of Soho among the riffraff. Like
yeah.
maybe the movie would mean more to me if I had lived in New York for any period of time.
Mm.
It would be more relatable.
Yeah, but yeah, no, I hear you there. I mean, I mentioned this before. I had an uncle who lived in New York around this time period. I don't think he ever did anything like this at all, like, or never
Yeah,
even would even think to do anything like this. Yeah,
right. It also this is a movie that is very safe from ever being remade because there are so many technologies that would stop this from happening anymore.
yeah, yeah. He'd yeah, he'd have a cell phone. Although even if he like lost his phone, you know,
Hmm.
he could find somebody to loan him their phone, or you know,
Or,
he'd or go
right.
to a store and maybe, you know, or he'd have credit cards. He'd have, you know, yeah,
There'd be more 24-hour businesses
mhm, yeah,
nowadays, probably.
yeah, and he'd find some way to get on the internet and maybe call an Uber or something. Yeah,
Right. Like you might have had a humiliating scene where he had to trade his wristwatch for, like, hey man, hire me an Uber. Uh, I'll trade you my wristwatch. Like that kind of thing.
yeah, yeah. No, no, you're right. Yeah, they couldn't do this movie today, with the, you know, with modern technology. Yeah, it's just,
Yeah. But okay, like the fact that it has a 7.6 when many movies I have loved are like 6 on IMDb. It's like, is it people who, because it's Scorsese, think it's smarter than it actually is? Because it's a
it's
Scorsese movie? Like, my immediate reaction upon finishing this was only Martin Scorsese could have gotten away with making this movie. Because I think if anybody else had looked at or had wanted to make this script, somebody would have been going, what?
yeah. Yeah, I think there's probably a lot to that. Yeah, yeah. There's just a lot of people who are like Scorsese, you know, fanboys. They'll just like anything he puts out. You know, not as bad as Christopher Nolan fans, but you know,
Right.
yeah,
The other thought I have with it is, again, it's billed as a comedy, and I think the most of the comedy in this comes from how absurd the situation is. But it's like Scorsese has some of the funniest lines in movies, in my opinion. Like between Wolf of Wall Street and like even a couple scenes in Taxi Driver were funny, and
yeah,
in a sort of a dark way, and the
yeah. Good.
Goodfellas had funny
Yeah.
moments. If I already
Yeah.
mentioned Goodfellas and didn't mention Wolf of Wall Street, it was like very much intentionally a comedy.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Um, so it's just I think it's when you have somebody who is good at injecting humor into a tense script, trying to make a movie entirely out of humor. Like they
Yeah.
don't quite, because like I could see in a more serious movie a lot of these scenes coming across as good comedy relief.
Mhm. Yeah. But I mean, obviously very dark comedy.
Right.
Um, you know, but
Oh,
it's,
for sure.
yeah, yeah, and the thing with dark comedy is that sometimes it can land and sometimes it can't. At least for me, like, you know, unless I know something is a dark comedy, I'm gonna automatically think it's a drama and not see the humor.
Right. Like I would say the first scene that you know that the movie is trying to be a little bit off key and wacky is in the diner where you have uh the cashier dancing with himself.
Yeah,
Like, that's the first offbeat moment, but it isn't exactly funny. It's just more like, okay, yeah, there are strange people in New York, whatever.
yeah,
He's probably like a failed male ballerina or something, or he's
yeah,
taking he's taking dancing lessons on the side.
yeah. Yeah, or well, I would say even the cab ride down to Soho was probably the only real attempt at a screwball comedy moment. You know, because the cab driver's driving so fast and he's like flopping in
Right.
the back. And,
Right. And I was like, well, that happened after the diner scene though.
right. Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, you're right. Like the next bit was like, this isn't quite landing. Like this, should I be laughing right now?
Yeah.
Are they trying to make me laugh? Why don't I feel
Yeah.
like laughing?
Why don't I feel like laughing, Marty? What's going on?
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, it's not an amazing movie. It's weirdly fascinating, but
Yeah. It's just weird to me. It's just think it's weird. It's an odd little movie.
yeah, and I can see why it's not seen as one of his greats.
Yeah. Yeah. I was just remembering the scene in Wolf of Wall Street when DiCaprio, when he's overdoses on Quaaludes and he's flopping around on the
Yeah, like there's nothing remotely as funny as that in this movie.
ground. No, not even close. But yeah, I can't recommend this movie. It is on Netflix, although is this another one that's getting pulled in a couple of days?
No, I think this was a more recent addition.
Okay. But but yeah, I don't, you know. There are better Scorsese movies to watch than this one. But I think we've said all we need to say for tonight.
Yeah, possibly more than we need to say, but
Yeah, yeah. Well, we got all of it off of our chest.
indeed.
Well, thank you everybody for tuning in. We appreciate it as always.